There arrives a season in life, not marked by calendars or celebrations, but by a quiet transformation within. It doesn't announce itself with loud events, but rather slips in during the still moments we often overlook. Maybe it's in the hush of a slow morning, where sunlight stretches softly across the floor, and for once there's no rush to be anywhere. Or perhaps it's in a simple act, hands immersed in warm dishwater, eyes drifting toward a garden, heart wondering how time passed like wind through autumn leaves. In these silent pauses, something deeper begins to awaken, a shift in how we define strength, no longer measured by power, ambition, or dominance, but by the calm we carry through life's uncertainty. True strength begins to feel like something quieter, not a loud declaration, but a still presence that doesn't waver. And so, let me ask you a question, one that may linger with you longer than expected. Why is it that some elders, even after enduring great loss, seem to glow with an unshakable peace, while others break under the weight of far less? Is it just personality, or luck, or perhaps family, faith, or fortune? Or could it be something more subtle, something found not in what life gives or takes, but in the way we respond? We've often been told that suffering is a natural part of life, and that's true. Pain visits everyone. But suffering, that heavy feeling that clings to us, that turmoil in the mind, that fear we carry like a shadow that can be changed. What if strength isn't something you're born with, but something you grow, slowly, gently, regardless of age, background, or past? This isn't the kind of strength glorified in speeches. It's not about powering through or burying your emotions. It's not about pushing harder. This is the strength of inner stillness, the kind nurtured through Buddhist wisdom. It's the discipline to be present, the courage to let go, and the clarity to remain grounded in the face of life's storms. And so, if you've ever found yourself lying awake, quietly whispering, "There has to be another way to carry this," then you are not alone. This is not a lesson in toughness. This is an invitation to walk a gentler path, to rediscover the peace beneath all the noise, and to shape a mind that is steady, compassionate, and wise. Let us take the first step together. Part 1. Suffering is a teacher, not the enemy. There's a quiet truth that often reveals itself only with time. Suffering doesn't always mean something is wrong. Sometimes it means something meaningful is unfolding beneath the surface, something we're finally ready to face. From a young age, many of us are taught to avoid pain at all costs. If it hurts, fix it. If it breaks, hide it. Move on quickly and pretend you're fine. That mindset might work for a while, but as we grow older, especially as life begins to slow, we start to see things differently. The pace of wisdom changes, and suddenly we begin to understand. The point isn't to escape suffering, it's to learn how to sit quietly in its company. Buddha's teachings capture this insight with profound clarity in the parable of the two arrows. The Buddha explained that when we face pain, be it illness, loss, or betrayal, that's the first arrow. It hurts. But there's a second arrow that often strikes us more deeply, the one we fire at ourselves. That's the resistance, the judgment, the fear, the longing for things to be other than they are. And it's this second arrow that deepens our suffering. Consider the story of a woman in a small Thai village. Let's call her Meena. After her husband passed away unexpectedly, her grief consumed her. But it wasn't only the loss that weighed her down, it was the guilt. If only I'd noticed the signs sooner, she'd tell herself. If only I had made him see a doctor. The sorrow of loss was real. That was the first arrow. But the blame and self-punishment, that was the second. In time, Meena visited a forest monastery where an old monk offered her gentle wisdom. He said, "The river will carry you, but only if you let go of the branch." His meaning was simple. Pain is natural, but clinging to it, replaying it, identifying with it, is what keeps us stuck. In Buddhist philosophy, suffering, dukkha, is not seen as a failure or a punishment. It's part of the path. The First Noble Truth reminds us that suffering exists, but the beauty lies in the truths that follow. Suffering has a cause, and it also has an end. And the way to end it begins with understanding, not avoidance. For many people later in life, pain is not a stranger. There have been losses, disappointments, dreams that faded, and bodies that no longer feel the same. But instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" what if we asked, "What is this here to teach me?" That one question, rooted not in resistance but in curiosity, begins to change everything. Like clay shaped by pressure or steel strengthened by fire, the human spirit grows not through ease, but through the choice to soften in the face of pain rather than harden. So when suffering comes, as it inevitably will, don't turn it away. Welcome it. Sit beside it. Ask what it has come to show you. And when it eventually departs, it may leave behind something quiet and lasting. The beginnings of a mind that cannot be shaken. Part 2. Learning stillness in the of life's storms. There's an old saying, calm waters never taught a sailor anything, and if there's one thing life guarantees, it's that the seas will get rough. When we're young, our instinct is to outrun the storm. We brace ourselves, build up defenses, move quickly, hoping that effort alone will save us from pain. But as the years pass, something shifts. We begin to see that the strength isn't in fleeing the chaos, but in learning how to remain grounded when it arrives. This is where the teachings of the Buddha speak softly yet powerfully. They don't tell us to battle the storm or control the winds. Instead, they show us how to find an anchor within ourselves, one that holds steady even when the world feels uncertain. Stillness in this tradition is not surrender. It's not weakness. It's a deliberate act of strength. Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh once described it beautifully. Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. That is the practice, not to stop the wind, but to avoid being carried away by it. Let me tell you about someone I once met. Mr. Raymond, a quiet man in his 70s. After the death of his wife, the grief was overwhelming. He tried meditation, but at first he could hardly sit for more than a few minutes. The sadness would surge, memories would rise, but he didn't walk away. He kept sitting, not to escape the pain, but to befriend it. And slowly, something changed. Breath by breath, he discovered that stillness isn't about escaping sorrow. It's about creating a space wide enough to hold it. What once felt like a tidal wave of grief began to feel more like a tide, rising, falling, and receding in its own time. In Buddhism, the simple act of mindful breathing isn't just a practice, it's a lifeline. Each deep, intentional breath is a message to the body and mind. You are here. You are okay. You don't have to run. That's why monks and nuns walk slowly. Their steps are not hurried, not distracted. They are intentional, fully present. This is a kind of presence anyone can develop, regardless of age, background, or belief. You don't need a temple. You don't need rituals. Just find a quiet spot. Your porch, your bedroom, even your car. Close your eyes. Breathe with awareness. That is more than enough. And here's the quiet miracle. The more we practice stillness in everyday moments, the more natural it becomes during life's hardest ones. Like a path through a dense forest, the more we walk it, the easier it is to find when we're lost. So the next time life begins to tremble, don't be quick to react. Don't chase distraction. Just pause. Feel your breath. And remember, there is a silence within you that cannot be shaken by the noise around you. Storms will come, but you don't have to go with them. Part 3. The quiet strength of gentle discipline. Discipline often gets a bad name. For many, it brings up images of strict rules, stern voices, and a life stripped of joy. We tend to think of it as something rigid, something we must obey. But through the lens of Buddhist philosophy, discipline isn't about control. It's about care. It's not punishment. It's protection. In the teachings of the Buddha, the word for discipline, sila, means ethical living, a steady alignment of your actions with your deeper values. It's not there to restrict you. It's there to guide you gently back to your own center, again and again. And here's the paradox. As we grow older, as life slows down on the outside, the noise inside often gets louder. The structure once given by careers, routines, or raising families begins to fade. Time opens up, and with it, the need to consciously shape how we spend our days. So what keeps us rooted when the world no longer demands so much of us? Discipline, but not the discipline of pressure, the discipline of presence. Let me share the story of Helen, a retired school teacher in her 80s. Every morning, without fail, she begins her day the same way. Washes her face with cold water, lights a small candle on her kitchen table, and sits quietly with a cup of tea before saying a single word. She told me once, "It's not a habit, it's how I return to myself." This is what gentle discipline looks like. It's not about forcing your life into rigid molds. It's about showing up with quiet devotion. It's about remembering who you are before the world tells you who to be. The Buddha never spoke of chasing big achievements. He spoke of right action, right speech, and right mindfulness. Simple steps, taken consistently. Making your bed with care, walking slowly, speaking with intention. These aren't small acts when done in awareness. They shape the inner landscape. Many of us wait for motivation to strike before we begin something meaningful. But motivation is fleeting. Discipline, on the other hand, is what remains when the excitement fades. It's the quiet decision to keep showing up, even when you don't feel like it, especially then. And here's something powerful. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, you rebuild trust in yourself. Not the kind of confidence that shouts, but the kind that stands quietly and says, "I can rely on me." If your days feel shapeless, if you feel adrift, don't wait for life to hand you purpose. Shape it yourself. Wake up with a moment of silence. Fold the laundry as if it matters. Sit for 10 minutes each morning, not to become someone new, but to return to someone ancient. Yourself. That is enough. That is discipline. That is power. Part 4. Strength is found in what you release. As we move through life, wisdom tends to gather, slowly, quietly, like snow on a mountain peak. But even with that wisdom, we sometimes carry more than we need. Not the heavy burdens we can name easily, but the subtle ones, the quiet habits of mind that chip away at our peace without ever announcing themselves. In the Buddhist tradition, the art of letting go is not a single moment of release. It's a rhythm, a returning, a practice of noticing again and again what we've begun to carry that no longer serves us. Letting go is not rejection, it's not suppression, it's recognition. It's choosing to set down what once felt necessary, but now only weighs down the heart. There are 3 patterns, especially in the later seasons of life, that quietly weaken the strength of the mind. And they don't shout, they whisper. First, the habit of complaining. It's easy to slip into, a slow drip of dissatisfaction. This didn't go right. That person let me down. The world isn't how it used to be, but the danger isn't in expressing pain. It's in making that pain our default lens. The Buddha reminded us, what we frequently think and ponder upon, that will become the inclination of the mind. So if we live in complaint, we begin to shape our world in its image. Letting go of it doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means asking, is this helping? And if not, we shift, from reaction to awareness, from helplessness to presence. Sometimes that's all it takes to reclaim our peace. Second, the pull toward comfort. After years of striving, struggling, and surviving, we often feel we've earned rest, and we have. But comfort, unchecked, becomes its own kind of cage. It can soften not just the body, but the spirit. In Buddhist monastic life, comfort is not the goal. Clarity is. So monks wake early, walk mindfully, eat simply, not to suffer, but to stay awake. For us, it may mean taking the longer walk, speaking the truth we've avoided, or breaking the patterns that keep us in place. We don't need to deny ease, but we can choose discomfort when it helps us grow. Third, the refuge of excuses. They often sound kind. It's too late for me. I've always been this way. But beneath them often hides fear. Fear of change, of failure, of facing the unknown. And yet, Buddhist teachings remind us of a nikka, impermanence. Nothing is fixed, not our thoughts, not our habits, not even our identity. Every breath holds the invitation to begin again. The only thing standing in our way is the belief that we can't. So what if we stopped asking whether it's too late and instead asked, what small step can I take today? Because letting go is not about loss. It's about space. It's about clearing out the mental clutter that keeps us circling the same thoughts, the same stories, the same regrets. And when we release even one of them, something shifts. The shoulders relax. The breath deepens. The mind becomes a little quieter, a little clearer. And in that stillness, something beautiful begins to return. Not noise, not drama, but strength. The kind that doesn't come from adding more, but from finally setting down what was never ours to carry. Part 5. Turning fear of failure into the foundation for growth. At some point in life, maybe after a painful breakup, a career that didn't pan out, or a quiet dream that slowly faded away, we start to carry a fear most people never speak out loud. The fear of failing. It's not only the act of falling short that wounds us, it's the story we wrap around it. We whisper to ourselves, I should have had it figured out by now, or I'm too far along to be making mistakes. And before we know it, we begin to live smaller. We choose what's safe. We hold back our ideas. We often pull back from the edges of growth because the weight of disappointment feels too heavy to carry again. But here's something Buddhism quietly teaches us. Failure is not our enemy. It's our teacher. Growth doesn't happen in spite of failure. It often happens because of it. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, just as a mountain is unmoved by the wind, so is the wise person unmoved by praise or blame. This means that both success and failure are passing visitors. Neither stays forever, and neither defines who we truly are. The goal isn't to cling to success or run from failure, but to be like the sky, open, still, and spacious, letting both come and go like clouds. Let me share a true story. There's a man named Louis from New Mexico. At 68, after retiring from decades as a mechanic, he felt a quiet urge to create. Even though he had never held a paintbrush before, something inside nudged him to begin. He had no art classes, no experience, just a deep curiosity. His first paintings were rough, people laughed, and his inner voice was even more critical. But Louis didn't stop. He simply changed how he saw failure. He said, "Every time I mess up, I know I'm standing at the edge of learning." That shift, seeing mistakes as signs of growth, turned failure into practice. This gentle, steady mindset is at the heart of mindfulness. Rather than fearing failure, we begin to explore it. We shift the question from, what if I fail, to, what might I discover? Because the truth is, no one who has truly grown or awakened has done so without stumbling along the way. Even the Buddha, before reaching enlightenment, faced doubt, temptation, and deep exhaustion beneath the Bodhi tree. Those struggles weren't detours, they were the path itself. Growth isn't a straight road, it moves more like a spiral. We circle back, we stumble, we rise again, and especially as we grow older, we might believe our time for change has passed. But Buddhist wisdom teaches the opposite. Now is the perfect time to embrace failure, because now we carry the insight to see it with gentler eyes. So the next time you hesitate to begin, to speak, to try, to dream, and that familiar whisper arises, "But what if I fail?" Answer with kindness, "Then I'll grow." Just as the soil must break for the seed to root, our lives often bloom through the cracks. Every step, even the stumbles, is part of this sacred unfolding. We live in a world that often confuses loudness with power, where the boldest voice is seen as the strongest. But the deeper we walk through life, the more we begin to understand a different kind of strength. True strength rarely needs to announce itself. It doesn't seek attention or try to dominate the space. It's like the roots of an ancient tree, quiet, hidden, but steady enough to withstand any storm. In Buddhist philosophy, there's a powerful image that captures this: a single candle glowing in stillness. It doesn't try to chase away the darkness. It doesn't flicker for applause. It simply shines, calm and steady. That is the heart of inner strength. Think of the quiet souls in your life, the ones who speak rarely, but when they do, their words stay with you. The ones who face challenges not with loud resistance, but with deep, grounded stillness. They remind us, strength isn't about controlling others, it's about staying rooted in who you are. Take the story of Tenzin, a Buddhist nun who lost her homeland, her community, and so many people she loved. She had every reason to grow bitter, and yet, when asked what frightened her most during those dark years, her answer was surprising: that I might lose my compassion. That is real strength, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that stays open-hearted when the world tries to shut you down. This kind of strength is born from equanimity, the Buddhist quality of balance and calm in the face of chaos. It's not that emotions disappear, it's that we stop clinging to them. The mind becomes like the ocean, still and steady beneath the waves. In many parts of Western culture, we're often taught that emotion equals weakness, that crying means you're fragile, and that walking away from conflict means you're giving up. But Buddhist wisdom offers a deeper truth. Real strength doesn't come from reacting, it comes from being present. The Buddha taught, hatred never ends through hatred, only through love can it cease. And to choose love, not blindly but with awareness, even in the face of pain or judgment, is a quiet act of great courage. So the next time someone criticizes you, misunderstands you, or tries to provoke you, pause. Ask yourself, what does strength look like when it doesn't need to win? Maybe it looks like silence, maybe it's a calm response, or maybe it's simply walking away without losing your center. You don't have to argue. You don't need to prove yourself. You only need to stay grounded in who you are. Because real power isn't loud, it's intentional. It doesn't reach for control. It chooses peace again and again. And over time, we begin to understand the most valuable thing we carry isn't how often we've won, but how often we've stayed true. Not how loud we've been, but how deeply we've lived. So when the world pulls at you and tempts you to react, remember the candle in the quiet room and gently remind yourself, I stay with what truly matters. If you've ever felt like you're late to finding peace, know this: peace has been quietly waiting for you all along. It doesn't ask for perfection. It doesn't need a perfect past. It only asks for your presence, right here, right now, in this breath. The strength you've been searching for isn't loud. It doesn't come from conquering the world. It comes from returning, again and again, to the stillness within. Let go of what no longer serves you. Breathe into this moment, exactly as it is. And remember, every sunrise, every gentle silence, every pause is an invitation to begin again. If this message touched something within you, consider walking this path with us. Subscribe to us for more quiet reflections and timeless Buddhist teachings, created to help you nurture clarity, compassion, and resilience, especially in the later seasons of life. And in the comments, share one thing you're ready to release, or one quiet step you're ready to take toward inner peace. Your story might be the light someone else is searching for. Until next time, may your heart stay light, may your mind stay steady, and may your days be gently touched by peace.